Hello, and welcome to Have At Us, Reviews for Your Pleasure, where we share our honest thoughts, opinions, feelings, and often hot takes. I'm Nietzsche.
And I'm Joshua.
And this is episode 24, Isla, Sorna. And we're going to be talking about Jurassic Park 2 and 3, or, the Lost World Jurassic Park. But Jurassic Park 2 sounds better because then we jump to 3. Just saying. We already talked about Jurassic Park 1. You can go listen to my good, correct, right gospel on how poor that film is. Josh over here, he liked it a lot more than he should have, but that's fine. He probably likes these films more than he should have, but that's okay. But we will be spoiling these films, and there might be spoilers from the first film, probably. But before we get into it, before we start to hear some heretical opinions from Josh, we invite you to have at us. Our links are in the description. Let's hear it. I've hyped up your opinion, so now I need to hear it.
Oh, these movies are, they're awful. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know that I would say they're awful. They're far from good, though.
I would say, realistically, The Lost World is great.
Mm-hmm.
Jurassic Park 3 is okay. Great
is not even on the table of descriptors for The Lost World. But we'll start with The Lost World, and once we've had everything to say on that, we'll move on to 3. But you think it's great. You tell me what is great about it. Anything.
Well, the choice of a lead, and Ian Malcolm, played by Jeff Goldblum, very smart.
My man, Jeff Goldblum.
Of course. Everyone loves him. He's a great choice as the lead of the... obviously he's the lead of the Lost World book, so makes sense. He's a great character in this film. He's very witty, has a lot of great lines of dialogue, and he's just a fun character to follow, and he creates a lot of laughs in what is supposed to be a tension-filled movie, and I think that works quite well. Now, The Lost World, and basically every movie that's not the first Jurassic Park, has a lot of people who hate everything that's not the original. It's just... this movie gets a lot of bad reputations.
Why does it get a lot of bad reputation? I have a lot of reasons I could throw out there, but I would like to hear what the populace thinks here.
There are 2 scenes that are particularly hated.
Mm-hmm.
That being the gymnastics scene with Kelly and the San Diego event at the end of the film. Both those scenes, I've seen people go on about how they basically make this movie like the worst thing in the world. And I do not understand. I genuinely do not understand.
I kind of like the gymnastics scene, honestly. It was a nice little tie-in. And back in there, and you got to see, Ian be a decent father over there. And it was kind of just a good line. It made sense. Like, in its world and moment. Does that scene really make a lot of sense? No, not really. But if I was watching Jurassic Park because it made sense, I don't hate myself enough to do that. So I don't know why I would. Like, that's just a fool's errand right there.
Well, a lot of people like to say, there's no way that she could kick a dinosaur out it's basically a window or a shutter. She's a teenager. She's big enough, and she's using the momentum and force of her swinging around, knocking herself into a velociraptor, which isn't that big of a creature. I feel like this is completely believable.
That scene only, I feel like, becomes a problem if you, minutely, want to dissect it. So I don't really understand, because if you want to minutely dissect basically any scene in here, it's not very good. But before we go into that, I agree that my good friend over here, Jeff Goldblum, is a good choice. He went from kind of a creepy weirdo in 1 to, just kind of an eccentric guy. And it worked. That's probably the best thing about this film, which is why it's better than 3. I don't know that it's, that much better than 1. 3's the worst of the trilogy here, though.
For sure.
Yeah. But I guess we'll go back to the second event that the populace hates on. That's where we'll go, since I sidetracked that. San Diego was fine as a movie scene. Why the military didn't come in and just bombard this thing, I don't really understand.
There's a cruise or a fighter jet just comes in and just... That'd be pretty funny.
You get some helicopters out there just like...
Taking it out.
Mowing it down. That makes sense as to what would happen, but that's not what happened. It's a movie. I moved on. I kind of like that, you get the scene with Ian being over there like, now you're John Hammond. Because it really tied in kind of his cockiness of like, I'll be here when it all falls apart, buddy.
Yeah.
And then he had to rub it in just a little bit. Kind of the like, I was right. And then this guy still gets screwed over, right? Because he dies being an idiot.
That's often the case in these movies.
That's pretty true. It's kind of what makes these movies not that great. It's a deal where I just feel like eventually I kind of was bored enough that I just started mocking it with the like, well, if only someone had told them. Right? It's just like, I get it. Yeah, it's not a good idea. And someone told them it wasn't a good idea, but it's just the same rinse and repeat. And there's a child.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay. How interesting.
There is generally a kid involved somehow.
Someone makes some really stupid decision at some point, and you're just like, come on.
I agree it's a little rinse and repeat. That's fair. However, I think it works just fine. There are plenty of people in the world who would do really stupid things for stupid reasons and get themselves killed. It's not an unbelievable factor to me that there would be a complete moron doing some stupid things. Particularly in 3. In this film, like even with the San Diego film, with the San Diego scene, I think it works just fine. I agree, you would have some kind of force, be the police or the military, come in and try to stop this monster. That would probably happen, and it would probably be pretty swift. Especially since I think San Diego has a Navy base there, right? So, you would think something would happen. But it's a movie. I'm pretty okay to just accept that there's this T-Rex going around, and I think it's kind of a fun scene. I like when he like smashes into the bus and whatnot. I think like visually it's very cool. I think the T-Rex looks good in the scene, holds up really well, and I actually kind of wish it showed him killing some more people because I feel like that would actually happen. But like he kills a dog and then he kills I think one other person on screen.
That's fair. I kind of like the dog scene, not because it's a dog dying as it should, but because I think that kid is kind of funny.
Yeah.
Right? It's kind of an unnecessary filler scene.
For sure.
But it was kind of funny. I'll give you. The more I think about the San Diego thing, the more, positive things I'm finding about it, so...
But there's people who believe that this film is good until we hit there, and they think after that it ruins the entire film. And I just do not understand it. The Lost World has always been a pretty divided movie, even upon release. I feel like it's a bit more appreciated now, perhaps, but it's still pretty dividing.
And where do you put this out of the original 3 here?
I think it's just as good as the original. In different ways. I don't necessarily... I think there's definitely some positives of the first that are better, and then I think there's some negatives of this, but I think there's also some really good stuff in this movie that the first one doesn't have. I think the setup to this movie is a bit more interesting. It's a bit better. It's a bit better paced, for sure. I think we get to the island. It makes sense. I think the banter is just as good here. I would agree that Jurassic Park 1 has a more developed cast, and they're a bit more nuanced. Whereas in this one, there's not a lot of character development, right? That's a pretty common complaint. But I also don't feel like you need it. The premise isn't something that's like demanding these characters to grow, necessarily. They're pretty established. They're adults, except for Kelly. And, she's probably learned some kind of lesson from this. Don't go follow Dad on 2 weird expeditions. That's the lesson she learned.
I mean, her character growth in film is fine. She's kind of being a bratty kid, and you can kind of glean that her life is not going real great right now. And that's fine, and then she kind of is like, oh yeah, whatever, I'll just sneak along, because I'm an idiot. But she's a kid, so you're like, okay. And then she does a lot of stupid things, but at some point she's like, I don't want to be here anymore. This was not a good idea. And she gets her lesson learned, and then she gets to get safely off the island.
I do think these movies have a tendency of not wanting to kill off very important characters, or the characters that would be kind of a tragic thing to do, which I think is a little unfortunate. I think we could kill a little bit more.
Well, often you have to have some early deaths, right? Of people who I basically learned the name of and promptly forgot because they died.
Very true.
And so you're not going for the impact of it, I feel like, and if you are, you failed.
Very true.
But it's kind of just okay, great, someone's gotta die, no-name kid over here, whatever. I guess Eddie, my man Eddie.
Yeah, he's like an actual character that's developed a bit.
His scene is, his death scene is kind of meaningful. That scene goes on really long, though. Like, really long.
With the RV?
Me. Yeah, with the RV, and he's got the car, and he's really trying, and it's just too long. I think if you shorten that down a little bit, it still could have been just as meaningful.
You probably could have. I think overall that's a really good scene, though. But with Eddie, I know the actor, I think it is Vanessa Lee Chester. I don't really know who this guy is. But this guy, he originally, Spielberg wanted to keep him alive because he liked his character in the film. And he's like, nah, you gotta kill me off. Because otherwise, it's too safe. You need to create that, that sense of danger. And I respect that.
That's fair. I mean, it's good that Spielberg listened to him, I guess.
He got a cool death. Getting ripped in half by 2 T-Rexes. Oof.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. And
the thing is, I think this film has some really cool shots of dinosaurs. I think it's got some really cool action sequences. I think it's got some good characters. And if they're not super developed, they're at least fun to be within their, banter and dialogue. And I think the dialogue in this movie is pretty good, especially on the part of, Ian Malcolm and Sarah and, the key players. I think it's pretty good. And even, Roland, who's this kind of hunter, big game hunter character, even he's kind of an interesting guy and has a little bit more than just, I shoot big animals. There's a little bit more to him than that, and I like that.
Yeah, his piss-poor accent. I hated the voice work on that. I really did. I could not take it. It's dragging this film down a lot.
Oh, I paid no attention.
What he does bring in, though, his only real contribution is good dinosaur names. we just gotta take a moment and talk about, what is it, Elvis? And what's the other one? Elvis is the second one he names.
Yeah. I don't remember the first.
I just like that he's struggling to describe them, and he's just like, Elvis. Like a showy, flashy one. And I'm like, yeah, okay. I guess. I don't know that anybody gets it outside of that context, but I guess. That's a good thing about this film. I like that. It's fleeting, but.
It is fleeting. I do think. So Roland comes in and he brings in all these extra engine mercenary guys, right? And they're basically all no names except for Roland and maybe his number 2.
What's his name? I don't even remember.
Dieter.
There you go. He dies, though.
He does die.
Like a failure.
He gets lost. And, I feel like you could learn something from that. Don't get lost. You might die from compies.
Here's the deal. If I end up on an island with dinosaurs, I'll be angry. I'll be real angry.
Yeah.
Because, I like the animals, and I would like to be friends with the animals. But I don't think the animals are going to want to be friends with me. Maybe they will. Maybe they'll recognize how righteous I am, how good of a guy I am.
And they'll know. Don't eat this one.
And if we get stuck together, I can outrun you. So we're looking good.
Yeah, that's true. I definitely die from not being able to outrun a raptor. I'm screwed.
So that's the benefit. I just got to take someone else who is less fit than I am. Isn't that like the old man joke? They're like, you don't have to worry about if you can outrun the bear. You just gotta worry if you can outrun the guy next to you.
Yeah.
I kind of like it. I think it's kind of funny. It's really jacked.
It's jacked, but there's some sort of wisdom to it.
It's a priority statement, right? Yeah. Your priority should be, don't get eaten, not, can I compete with a bear? Because the answer is no, you can't compete with the bear. You can't compete with the dinosaurs. Bad idea.
I have to say, there's something really cool about seeing the idea of a T-Rex on screen, though. There's not a lot of dinosaur movies, especially in like the live action department. There's some, what is that, Sci-Fi Channel? There's some of that kind of crap that exists, and that's all just nonsense that no one cares about. But how many movies are there where you really get a spectacle of dinosaurs on screen and trying to bring them to life? And our knowledge of them at, when this came out, Lost Worlds came out in 97, probably not as good as it is now. But nonetheless, it's just a cool idea to see a dinosaur on screen, a big old T-Rex. And like the roar it gives, it's really cool. I like it.
I think the visual effects in both films and their sounds of the dinosaurs are good. I'm not really against it. I think it's something that, it does well at, and that's good because it's the selling point of your film for most people. But I just don't care enough about dinosaurs is the problem. They're not that interesting to me, and it always comes back to, all we really have is bones, and we're just making stuff up, it feels like. It just feels like we pull things out of a hat, and we're like, well, this kind of makes sense, let's do it. This is how it No, it didn't, you don't know that.
Definitely true. I agree with that there's only so much we can glean from some old fossils. But at the same time, that lets you run your imagination to the winds and just see where it takes you. There's not a lot of great dinosaur IP in the world. You got Jurassic Park. You got Dino Crisis. You got maybe like Turok, like the original Turok's kind of neat. There's some things, but it's pretty rare. And so I really like to appreciate when we get that good stuff. Because I really like dinosaurs a lot as a kid, in part thanks to this movie franchise and Dino Crisis. And maybe it's just nostalgia speaking at that point. Like, oh man, these really are cool creatures. But I just think there's something that would be very frightening about seeing a T-Rex. There's no way you fight this thing barehanded, right? Even with a gun. I don't know, how effective would a gun really be against this thing? Obviously, a machine gun would probably take it out pretty easy. But if you just had a pistol on you, how effective is that really going to be?
How good of a shot are you?
Not a great shot.
Well, that answers that question. You suck, you will die. I will live because I'm going to make friends with it.
Yeah.
I'm going to be riding around on it.
Ride around on it.
Back on dinosaur films in general, I don't think you get a lot of them that are even built for adults is the problem. I think that children and dinosaurs is kind of the market, but not really adults most of the time. But people really like Jurassic Park and Jurassic World, it seems. In general, people seem to think these are pretty great, so I don't really understand. Maybe people just don't want to go through the effort to make them look good. Because nobody's going to like your dinosaur film if your dinosaurs look like crap.
That's very true.
Like, they better be pretty top quality.
If you could make the T-Rex look like it does in 93, you need to be able to at least make it that good. And preferably better, since we're a few decades past that.
It's just a little bit of time. Things haven't really improved that much. It's,
Yeah.
It's alright.
But The Lost World has another great scene in it.
Oh my, I can't think of any other great scenes. Let's hear it.
It's the long grass scene. Now, I think that should be tall grass, but they call it long grass, and we'll respect the name they give it.
I don't have to respect that. It's a stupid name. What's good about this scene?
The visual of it is just really awesome. The idea of running through this field. The grass, it's not super tall, but it's tall enough that these raptors can hide in it. And then you get that shot where you see them running in and you just see the lines they're creating as they're like stomping down on the grass as they all converge onto this point of the group of humans. That's a really cool shot. And then you get that one where the guy like turns around and then the raptor jumps out of the grass onto him. That's a cool shot. That's a really awesome scene.
I don't think that you have an understanding of what the word awesome, good, great means. And you need to be educated on that.
Oh, please define it for me.
Now's not the time.
Okay.
I mean, you're a little too entrenched in talking about how great this stupid scene was. Because the scene is not great. It's like, okay, people ran and were frightened and they died. Oh, wow, that's exactly what I thought was going to happen. This isn't very visually appealing to me. Wasn't that great?
Of course. Of course you would say that. But you are wrong, Nietzsche.
I am never
It looks
wrong.
great.
I'm never wrong. Because I'm a righteous man. We already covered in the intro that you're a heathen.
Yeah.
And your opinions are wrong. You also just said you liked the San Diego stuff, so, like...
I think the San Diego stuff is good.
You know...
People who bash on it are stupid.
Now you're insulting other people.
But that's what it takes to get the recognition it deserves.
Okay. You have any other great scenes you need to talk about? Any scenes that really stood out that you want me to bash on for you?
What do you think about John Hammond being in this film? Did you kind of like his reappearance?
I didn't care. I kind of forgot he was in this film, honestly.
Okay.
I think my good friend Ian over here, though, his performance in that is good.
The back and forth.
Yeah, I think their interaction is good. But I just think that it's well acted, it's well done, and it works. And we decided to direct it in a non-creepy fashion. And that was way better, because in the whole first film, he's just kind of creepy. Just kind of weird. I don't know, he's a questionable man. And he's still kind of questionable. But at least it seems like this has changed him. He's got some better moral backing, and it makes sense. He's like, I'm not going to that island. I'm going to tell everybody else not to go to that island. Not happening, buddy. You suck.
I find it hard to believe that there was an island of dinosaurs. All the governments of the world would be like, yeah, we'll respect that and not go there. Really? I don't believe that. We either just destroy this island out of fear of their, threat, or we definitely have a lot of people go there and examine the creatures. And probably have some die. That's fine. But I just don't believe that Costa Rica over here is just keeping everybody out. Easy peasy.
InGen is.
Or InGen, whatever.
They're cool. I mean, nobody knew about it for a while, right?
I guess it's true that, like, Ian Malcolm, right? It shows him at the beginning that he did interviews, but he wasn't taken seriously. He wasn't really believed. But the T-Rex in San Diego probably convinces a lot of people.
That's fair. I like the back and forth on that, though, where he's just, like, no, you're doing the wrong thing, and I'm right, and yeah, I technically broke, the NDA, but you're also, withholding information that's a big deal, and, like, not respecting that these people died and their families and all of that. Like you were making the morally wrong choice, buddy. And so, yeah, I think he's just a better person, right? He has come out of Jurassic Park 1 as a better person.
It just took a few dinosaurs to make him better.
Yeah. Maybe that's what I need. Maybe people would be happier with me if I went and saw some dinosaurs and almost died by them.
You would just let them eat you. Let's be real.
Nah, I gotta let you die first, and then I'll go back and give them a meal.
I mean, after me, they're not gonna want you.
Yeah, but I'm like a dessert.
Oh, I see.
So I'm not very filling.
Yeah.
Just that little bit at the end.
I see.
My meat's higher quality than yours.
I see.
It's just trying to think through and give them the best of the
I understand.
The ordeal.
That's nice of you.
Oh.
Now, what are your major problems with this film?
I don't understand why we are going back in reality and, like, how the government, now that it knows it exists, just lets this happen. The U.S. government isn't like, well, we definitely have a dinosaur, and, we now own Isla Sorna, Costa Rica. Or we take over you violently. You can sell us Isla Sorna, have some money, put it in your economy, or we can wage war on your country. Because I just feel like that's something we would do, right? We would not send this back. Like, everything feels really weird about it. I'm just, my good friend Ian is basically the only good part of it. I just feel like it's really slow.
I feel like it's pretty brisk compared to Jurassic Park.
I mean, it's faster, but it still feels kind of slow. And I don't care about the dinosaurs all the time. And I don't believe in the massive threat all the time. I just don't care. I'm not engaged. Like, it was a bad idea. Someone told you it was a bad idea, and you still went. You still did these things. Why would you do that?
I do wish the characters that they were killing off were at least a little bit more sympathetic for the audience. Because you get Dieter going off and dying by the copies, but he's clearly just a dick, and no one cares that he dies. In fact, people are probably like, good, he's dead. No one liked him. So it would be nice if we actually got some characters in there, outside of Eddie, perhaps, that are like, oh, okay, yeah, we're rooting for these people, we like them, and then bam, dead, out of nowhere.
It would be nice, but it's also just a movie about dinosaurs. It's not really about me caring about the people, right? It's a movie about seeing dinosaurs do cool things. And I didn't love Jurassic Park 1, and this is kind of just the same kind of deal. Like, the plot's not innovative, it's just not interesting.
I think the Jurassic Park 1 plot, or at least as a setup, is interesting.
The idea is interesting on paper, but the movie is not really that interesting. Like, I think it would be more interesting if this park was open, and then, you know, they got invited back to go see how well the park was doing, and then something went really wrong. Right, I think that could be more interesting. There's more at stake, makes it seem better. Whereas this, I'm like, okay, great. There's some people isolated on an island. If they die, they die. If they don't, whatever. Like, some of you are gonna get off. How cool. They get off the island.
Now, what would you have thought if we got to the end and everybody died? Would you have been
I'd respect that.
You'd be like, damn, that's pretty crazy.
I would respect that. It'd be sad that my man Jeff Goldblum couldn't make any more appearances.
That would be sad.
Because he's good. He's my friend.
Yeah?
Not really. He's just kind of the best part about this film, so...
I mean, he's definitely the best part.
I'm not interested in it. Like, the dinosaurs are fine, but they're not amazing. Like, they're probably amazing for their time, but, you know.
Oh, sure.
It's 2022.
Been a few days.
They're not really that amazing anymore. I just don't have anything to be invested in. That's why I just kind of spent it kind of bored. Jeff Goldblum breaks that a little bit with being entertaining. But that's about it. Nobody else in that cast is interesting. I'm a little confused as to, like, you know, I assume Kelly's mother is colored and great. I don't know why I didn't get to see her or have some setup for that, or I don't know why I just got sideline comments about how that worked. I don't know. There's also no after effects. Like, what really goes on after they are done dealing with that? Like, it gets transported back, but I don't really understand. Like, there's Jeff Goldblum over there like, look, woman, that was really bad and stupid, or they made it through a tragic event together, so now they're happier. This woman's mother, Kelly's mother, doesn't care that her child almost died. She's like that deadbeat and crap of a mother.
You definitely don't tell Mom. That's what Jeff Goldblum says. He's like, look, we're going to keep this on the down low. You never went to this island. This didn't happen. That's what you do. Try to hide that. And then when that fails, you get an earful.
That would definitely fail if she talks to her mother again. Yeah, I just don't have anything to latch onto at all at any point in this film.
I see.
I don't care. It gets worse in 3, but you know what also doesn't make this film good? The same song that isn't very good to start with, this Jurassic Park theme.
Would you like to hum it for us?
No, because it sucks. It basically is the only music in 2. Like, there's not really any other music. Even, like, dramatically, I think they just use the same music and they make it more dramatic. And I'm like, come on. It is lazy.
It is a bit lazy. I won't deny that. But I like the track. As I said in Jurassic Park episode, I like it a lot. So, it ain't bothering me.
It bothers me.
Now, Jurassic Park 3 has a different director and a different... The music is done by a different person.
Yeah, and there's more variety in 3. It's not to its helpful benefit.
Yeah.
Realistically. But... Because in 3, it really is just like hyper dramatic for no reason sometimes. Like, oh man, the world is ending! Dramatic music! They saw a dinosaur walking. Come on. Stop this nonsense. Anyway, back on 2. You got other great things you need to say about 2?
You know what the best line in that movie is?
What do you got to say?
It's when Owen is out there yelling Sarah, and Ian, or he's yelling Sarah, and then he uses her full name, and then he's like, "How many Sarahs do you think are on this island?"
That is really funny. I will give you. I did laugh at that because it was so biting and mean, but also so like, I mean, that's pretty true, buddy. Like, Sarah is a common name, but, nope. There's only one.
That's a good line. I like it a lot.
It was pretty funny. I'll give you that.
I think it sums up Ian pretty well of his kind of character.
Well, he's also just kind of a high tense state.
Yeah.
And he's trying to make it happen.
But I guess we should talk about the third film, your favorite film.
Yeah, it's the worst one. And I hope that the next 3 films are not this quality. So you think 3 is good?
I think it's okay.
You think it's okay?
Yes. I think there are some good scenes. I think there are some bad scenes. And this film feels very different than the first 2. Well, the original trilogy, I saw this one in theaters.
Because you saw everything in theater.
I did not see The Lost World in theaters.
Well, I don't want to hear about it. Wow, you didn't see one movie of your childhood in theater.
True.
How tragic.
I also saw the Jurassic World 1 and 2 in theaters. So, 4 out of 6 will be pretty good. But I remember seeing this film, and I liked it when I was younger. As an adult, and as I've, gotten older, I've seen it plenty of times. I definitely find more things to criticize, things that make a lot less sense. Overall, I find the tone of this film to be a little weird.
It is kind of a weird film frequently, and what makes it weird is Dr. Grant and his interactions with Ellie and her kid, and he calls her on the satellite phone weirdness, and you're just like, I don't know what's happening here. Are you guys together? Were you together? I'm not understanding. It's so unclear.
They're not together now.
I get they're not together in 3.
Right.
Were you together at some point?
In the first movie.
Were they actually together? Because it seemed kind of weird.
They were.
Like they weren't. And I wasn't really sure. But that created a lot of weirdness frequently.
It is a really weird, and it's very misleading when it's first introduced. You're like, oh, okay, I guess they had a kid. No, she has a kid with some other guy. I think it's Mark. It's just this random dude. And it's like, okay, I guess you're not together. I don't understand. Why did this need to happen? You literally could have kept this film almost entirely the same and just had them together. Their splitting didn't really mean anything.
You could have had, her stay because she was watching after their kid.
Yeah.
Oh, look, problem solved. It makes sense when he calls her, I call my wife. Okay. I'll call my friend. She's been there for me. She's like my lover at all times.
Yeah,
except not.
It's very weird. It's definitely one of the things that I dislike about this movie, where I'm like, this is a completely unnecessary, stupid change. I don't know why they did that. I don't know. But it's definitely a negative for me.
But neither of them were great in the first film. And they come back and they're like, well, let's do a worse performance. That's what I think happened. I don't like any of these people. Maybe the little girl at the beginning. Oh, no, that was 2. Never mind. The little girl at the beginning of 2. I like that we maybe, almost killed a child, but we clearly didn't. She was injured. Whatever. Back on 3. They all suck.
I think a large problem with this movie is that the cast of characters, I like Alan Grant. But I like him because he's in the first movie, and it's cool to see him in this one. But as a character, he's not super interesting in this. He's basically like, oh god, why did I come to this? How did I get stuck on this island again? Well, I hope I survive. And then he survives. And alright, cool.
Well, it's his first time on the island, but yeah.
Well, on this island.
I just don't understand how he is so motivated by money. It just seems like he doesn't even have a high price ceiling.
I wish we got to see what number he gave. Just was it an outrageous number? Because in the scene before, he's like, no, force on earth or heaven will get me onto that island. And, admittedly, they're saying they're going to fly over the island. We're not going to touch down. Clearly, the Kirbys lie pretty heavily to this guy. And he falls for that. So it's not like I'm not unsympathetic. I get it. You thought, we're just going to fly by. It's going to be no big deal. I'll make a lot of money. I can keep the dig site going. I understand it. It makes sense to me. His motivation makes sense to me.
It just seems like all he cares about is money and dinosaurs. but there's not enough money for dinosaurs, so he's got to make all these really terrible decisions. And it makes me think less of his character. Whereas, like, my good friend, Jeff Goldblum, he sacrificed his spot at the university, and he looks like an idiot, right?
Well, it does say that Grant wrote a book. 2 books.
Yeah, one is before.
Before and then one after. And talking about the events, but it doesn't mention, like, a ruined reputation, but I guess we don't really see, maybe his reputation was ruined until San Diego. Who really knows? We don't get all the information. But I don't really have a problem with it. Clearly, he's invested in the dig. He's probably pretty cynical about dinosaurs now. That's an understandable feeling. And, a little jaded, but he needs the money. He still has a passion for continuing it. He doesn't want to let down his people. I think it's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But it does make the Kirbys pretty unlikable in this film.
I just don't like that basically they lie and deceive a bunch of people, and then a lot of those people die.
Yeah.
Because they were terrible people, and there's no repercussions. They get a happy ending.
Yeah.
They're kind of together again.
You're like,
a little weird.
We got our son back, and
then there's,
Cooper. No one liked Cooper anyway. We did him a favor. Yeah, that's the problem is, like, you get Alan Grant, and maybe you don't really like him, but I'm fine with Alan Grant. And then you get, like, Billy. And I'm like, he's fine.
Billy's kind of a creep. He seems kind of weird. Like, he's just kind of on the dig site because he, wants to flirt with women. That's how he's introduced. And then I never get anything that sells me a different story. And so I'm kind of like, you seem a little creepy, buddy. You seem a little bit like you're preying on some people.
That's not the impression I get from it, though. That's not what I get at all. You don't have enough interaction. Like, if there had been another interaction with another woman, it would have been like, okay, maybe, but we don't really get that. It's just a scene.
Yeah, but he seems like kind of a little too suave and not great. I don't like him.
He's young.
I don't like him.
I mean, that's fine. But outside of those 2, everybody else, well, I mean, 3 people are killed off, like, instantaneously, basically. I mean, this movie is really quick to get us to the island. Far quicker than the first 2 films. We're there pretty quickly. And then we're basically immediately thrown in with the big dino. Like, it takes no time. Which is both a positive and a negative, I think, for the film. I think it works in that clearly they were just going for their own plot. This isn't really based on any book. Although, from my understanding, some of the scenes in this are inspired by scenes in Jurassic Park book. It really makes me think I should read this book one day. I own it, so, no excuse. So we're in it really quickly. We kill off these people, and now we're just left with mostly unlikable people. I guess Udesky is alright.
I don't like any of these people in film. I do think that Miss Kirby, I don't remember her first name, is acted well. Who's the actress on that?
Téa Leoni.
Well, you are the best actress in this film, Téa Leoni.
Really?
Good on you. Everybody else I felt like wasn't super believable or was overplayed. But I feel like her stuff, she was kind of in a hysteric situation, and she was pretty hysteric most of the time, and it worked, and I think it made a lot of sense.
Interesting.
But her as a character, yeah, not great. Like, I don't have a lot of sympathy for you being in hysterics over, like, your, dead son, well, potentially dead son and all this nonsense, because you made some poor decisions.
Some really bad decisions, and then you got people murdered a few minutes ago by your bad decisions to lie to them. Like, yeah, we're really rich and powerful, and just hiring these guys, it's gonna go great. Immediately dead. Which is, I mean, it's kind of funny. Like, they're just, like, these guys are immediately dead. Like, well, this isn't going quite as well as they were hoping, I think.
That's fair. But then they meet Eric, right?
Good old Eric. We had to have the kid.
It was very important. And Eric's fine.
Yeah.
Like, whatever. You're a teenager. You survived. We could have used seeing how he survived. That would have been more interesting to me. Because I feel like what we tried to do was be like, oh, maybe we're on a full errand to find this kid and he's not actually here. No, the kid's here. He's alive. We're going to save him. Right? Nobody thought you killed this kid.
Yeah.
So don't play this weird game with me. Just show me that the kid's alive and let them, be in hysterics and be believable.
I can almost believe that somebody could survive for 8 weeks. But at the same time, it's like, that's a long time. And he's going out exploring the island a bit. It's like, I don't... If he had found this water truck and there was just conveniently a bunch of stockpiled food or something, be like, alright, I guess. It's convenient, but I mean, movies are convenient all the time. Who cares? But I have a hard time that you're navigating yourself around this island and finding things and observing the dinosaurs and gathering T-Rex urine.
That's a weird deal where I'm just like, I don't know. He's clearly putting it on things too.
Yeah.
Trying to mark a perimeter.
Which makes sense. Like, I can understand it as an idea.
It makes sense, but if I had seen a scene where he had, like, seen a dinosaur over there and it urinated and there was a big puddle and he, like, grabs a flask and gets some carefully. Sure, right? If I had seen some of the intermittent of him surviving in those weeks.
It would have helped.
I think it would have helped this feel more cohesive and better.
Yeah, I agree.
I also think you just, should have killed Billy. Or fake killed him way earlier.
You could have just killed him.
I didn't really like that he was alive at the end.
Yeah. It's pretty cheap.
It's weird. I didn't like him, and then he was alive again, and
I felt like
gets the hat back.
There's a sense of, like, redemption with him dying within the plot. Like, alright, you fucked up with the eggs, but you regret it clearly, and you're like, nah, I'm gonna save this kid. You die for that. That would have been fine. He didn't need to survive.
It would have been fine, but I didn't care either way. I was so checked out by the time we had gotten to the, bird cage.
I'm... Alright, I got a couple scenes. Because this film, of course, not super well liked.
Nobody likes it.
I mean, if people aren't liking Lost World because it's not good enough, this film is definitely not good enough for people. Now, there's a couple scenes in here that people really like to mock.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is the Velociraptor dream. How do you feel about that?
The dream? Like when he's on the plane?
Yeah.
It's so short-lived.
It's very short. It's a few seconds.
It's not even worth dealing with, in my opinion.
But that's one of the major criticisms of this movie that people meme on very frequently when we're discussing this film.
There are much bigger fish to fry.
Like, it's kind of silly. Sure. You got this talking Velociraptor saying Alan. It's a little silly. But in context, him fearing and having a nightmare about a Velociraptor, believable. It talking, not, it's a dream. Whatever. It like you said, it's short-lived. It's literally a couple seconds. Not a big deal. I don't really understand why that scene in particular is like the breaking point of this film. But it's one of them.
Mm-hmm. This next one better actually be a real issue.
So, I don't know that I see it as much, but I've seen it a lot back in the day. Is people complain that the T-Rex is killed, and that the Spinosaurus gets to kill the T-Rex, and that we now have a Spinosaurus instead. They hate that they killed off the T-Rex. That really bothers some people.
That might actually, that sequence might be, the best point in the film. Honestly. I was pretty engaged. I was like, oh man, we're gonna have, a real dinosaur fight. Over, the prey that they want. That seems pretty believable and interesting. And it looked good. The shots were good.
Mm-hmm.
Why does it matter? Which one killed which one?
People are attached to the T-Rex.
The T-Rex didn't eat the satellite phone.
That's true. The movie would not have worked.
I don't care. I never would have thought that was the issue.
That's one of the issues. It really bothered a lot of people.
That might be one of the few scenes where the music actually matches the mood well. Because it's actually highly dramatic, and there's highly dramatic music.
I think it's a cool scene.
I'm floored. I feel like everything that I liked about any of these films is the community hates these things. Because I just have to have the hot take, even when saying good things.
Yeah, a little funny how that works out.
Mm-hmm.
It's a complaint I never understood. I'm like, yeah, but it's just a T-Rex. You don't even know what T-Rex... It's just a random T-Rex. Who cares that it dies? T-Rex wasn't necessarily the biggest thing on the land. I don't really understand why it's such a big deal that, one would be killed by a Spinosaurus. And I thought it was cool to introduce like a new, different, big baddie dinosaur. And that, if it was just the T-Rex for a third time, it'd be a little boring, but you get this new guy in here. Pretty terrifying. He's a big dude. Now, again, he's introduced super fast. They clearly liked him. They wanted him in there.
I mean, it's a very quick-paced film.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Which is fine. I don't think it has pacing issues. I think it's fine.
I think the end is very abrupt.
It's questionable as to how this LA woman convinced the U.S. government to send the Marines and Navy to go aid potentially only one person. She doesn't have any clue what's happening.
Hey, Mr. President, can you just, do me a solid real quick? You just send him out to this island. Yeah, the one over off the coast of Costa Rica that has the dinosaurs on it and everything. Yeah, my friend, he's there, probably. That's what it sounded like. You want to send him out? Thanks.
Like, if there was something that explained that, that would be nice. If she, had called and I heard tell that there was a plan to, go infiltrate the island. And then the president gets a hold of that, or someone in the military gets a hold of that. And then they're like, oh, no, this is basically our island because we are America. And that's important. We will go get to our island and they roll up at the right time. Still ridiculous, but it would have made some more sense.
Yeah, it
nothing about the end makes sense, which is bad. But basically from like entering the birdcage onward, I was like, when does this film end? I feel like we've been here for 2 hours already.
Yeah, it's the shortest of the 3 films.
I know that, because when I looked at the time afterwards, I was like, oh, I guess that much time didn't pass, but it felt really long. Despite the fact that it was paced quick, I was, like, so bored and so done.
You bring up the birdcage. I really like the birdcage scene. I think that's one of the positives of the film. I think the shooting there, like, with the film is very good. Like, how it's very foggy. They're not really sure where they're at, and then, they figure it out. Where they're crossing the bridge and then Eric comes across the pterodon. That's pretty cool. That's a cool shot. You can't deny it. To me, I think it's cool. I like how the birds are like trying to kill them, and then like when they fall into the ravine at the bottom, the cage comes crashing down onto the bird. I'm like, that's pretty cool. It's pretty crazy.
Wow, they conveniently got saved.
Is it convenient? Yeah, but it's pretty cool. I like it.
No, it's not. It's bad. It's boring. I don't care. There's the weird scene with Billy as he goes and just comes to the rescue, and you're just like, oh, I don't care. Can we just stop? All of it. And then there's the weird thing where after Billy is dead, right, where Grant's like, the last thing I said to him. That wasn't the last thing you said to him. Get your story straight.
Sure, but I understand that there's a difference between having a conversation and then trying to tell him to stop and him not responding.
The last conversation I had ended with.
It could be phrased better, but the heart of the idea holds up fine.
That's what we're going for now?
I'm just saying.
We're going for like, well, I mean, you did miss the entire target, but, like, you shot at the wall that the target was on, so, like, good for you?
Well, I mean, I think that's just part of speech, is sometimes it's not perfect, and you kind of have to glean information from what they're trying to say.
I understood what they were trying to say, but it was stupid. I did not like it.
I mean, whatever.
But, these films suck. They don't all suck. 2 doesn't suck.
Well, there's something at least.
But that's my friend Jeff Goldblum.
Carrying it.
I think that this is actually the only thing I've seen Jeff Goldblum in. I don't know that I've ever seen him in another film. Like, I've seen him, like, in interviews and stuff, or, like, promote things. Mm-hmm. Apartments.com. He's been the face of that for a while.
Yeah, true.
And he's fine. He's kind of inoffensive.
Yeah, he's an older gentleman. He's an interesting interviewer.
He's very eccentric in real life.
Yeah, he's an odd guy. It works well for the casting though.
Yeah, I think it works, but Ian's not in this movie.
No.
We got not great people.
How did you feel about the raptors in this film? In the third film?
The raptors. What do you want from me?
Well, their design's different.
Yeah. Not all of them even look the same.
Yeah.
Whatever. It doesn't bother me. I feel like they would, if they thought you had the eggs, they would just murder you and find the eggs. But, it's whatever.
They don't want to break the eggs. I can understand that. But they're at the very end. I have a really hard time believing that we make it that far into a scene with these guys and they don't just kill you once the eggs are clearly safe. It's weird. Another thing that's criticized a lot with this film is kind of the, maybe not a lot, but sometimes, is like the way that they communicate with like their calls and whatnot. But I felt like that made sense within like the film.
I think that they would have sounded not right. I would take that, but they sound right. Like, they sound different, but they also still are good enough to communicate. Like, I think I can kind of understand what this sound is supposed to mean.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's a good job. Whoever, designed the audio on that and figured that out did a good job. I don't really feel like that's worthy of criticism.
Yeah, I think it's cool. It adds an element to the species. It makes them interesting. It makes them pretty terrifying to have to go up against, since they're pretty well coordinated, to be honest. I feel like at the beginning of the film, Grant's like, oh, these things were smarter than dolphins and whales and primates. These guys, second smartest thing to a human. And I mean, I don't know that would be true, but at least within the film, you make me think it's true. Like, alright, I mean, they're laying traps by letting the Udasky be slightly alive so he can kind of move. Like, it's pretty clever. I don't know that I believe that they would be that smart, but, it makes for a cool scene with them, I guess. This film isn't very believable. The satellite phone surviving in the stomach of the Spinosaurus. A little ridiculous. How would you even hear it? Like, I have a hard time believing you would hear it, even if it was going off.
I mean, if it's inside still, like in the throat, I could believe that you could potentially hear that. Inside the pile of fecal matter, though? No. I don't believe that sound has enough ability to carry.
And this thing, like, makes it through this thing. And then they use it afterwards to call Ellie. Like, this thing has had a journey of its own. And it survives the trip.
It does survive for a while. I don't know. That just seemed like a weird scene for no real purpose. Digging through, fecal matter.
I mean, it's like a homage to the first film, maybe.
Yeah, I don't care.
But I also think you have Billy's, this is my special strap. It's like, oh, just like Sarah's special bag from the second film? Is that supposed to just be like a homage? Did you just not think about that? I don't know.
Let me tell you what, I didn't think about it. I thought, wow, Billy's an idiot. Oh, look, Sarah's also an idiot. Great. When are we going to get some smart people?
Well,
I mean, the next three films, they have Chris Pratt, right? My good friend.
Yep.
Who always plays an idiot in everything I've ever seen. So I hope he doesn't play an idiot in this, but we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
That's going to be a discussion, I think. It's going to be interesting.
Well, that's for later. For now, I don't know. I don't love these films. I don't really have much else to say on 3 that's not like nitpick, like this film is kind of garbage.
Yeah. I like I said, I think it's an okay movie. I think there's some cool shots. And it mostly comes down to the fact that I think we're on the island quickly, and we have a lot of dinosaur action there. And I think that's pretty cool, in a vacuum. The details of this film are ridiculous. But just as like an action flick, it works fine. I feel like people hold, especially the first movie, to like this extreme regard of like, wow, it's such a masterpiece. And clearly I love that film. It's one of my favorites of all time. But I don't think it's such a masterful piece of art that like all these other films are just so far below it that they can't just exist as like a fun movie with dinosaurs. I don't know. I just don't feel like it's that big a deal. Could they be better? Could you have better characters than the Kirbys, who don't really have very many redeeming qualities in the grand scheme of things? Yes. I don't think every one of these movies has to be the same, plot over and over again. Because people like to discuss how there's a message within the first film. And maybe the second film with like capitalism, I guess. But this third film, it's not really going for any message outside of, you know what? Dinosaurs are scary. That'd suck, wouldn't it? And then that's about it.
I guess. I don't really feel like those messages are really that clear and prominent for me to care. Right?
I feel like they're pretty clear in the first one.
It's kind of whatever. I don't really care enough, though. Because that film kind of sucks.
I like how John Hammond references the Life Finds a Way line too, Ian, though. That's pretty cool.
The Life Finds a Way line happened multiple times. And that's great. That's fine. That's a decent line. It's better than the other, Jeff Goldblum quote that gets quoted all the time. Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it.
Okay.
It's not great. It's just not a great quote to me. I don't care.
I mean, that's a good quote. I don't know what you're talking about, but...
The correct truth. That's what I'm talking about.
Uh-huh.
My gosh. But the third film, it doesn't really have any shining message. Be a good parent. Don't suck.
Don't get people onto an island and get them killed.
Don't lie to people's detriment.
It really is funny to me how we're at the airstrip, we're on the island, and they go out into the forest, and it's literally within a minute, basically. They're running back in. One of them's dead. It's like, all right, well, Cooper, screw you. You're dead, buddy.
But it's not short after that my colored man dies.
He dies? He was, I think, Nash.
Nash, my good friend Nash.
I think that was his name.
I think it's said, once, and then he's dead.
Yeah, all right, well, he's... Goodbye. Yeah, it's just funny because you get this big introduction scene with them, blowing up the plane with the gun, and then they kind of amount to nothing. They just die. All right, well, that was a, useful investment.
I don't know, you got any other story scenes or anything about the story you need to reference?
I got a question for you.
Okay, let's hear it.
Of the dinosaurs that do appear, which one is your favorite?
Elvis.
Yeah, you like Elvis?
I don't actually know which one Elvis is, but I had to go there with confidence.
Yeah.
I don't know that any of them are my favorite. I just kind of am okay, great. There's dinosaurs.
Did you like the Spinosaurus?
It's fine. It's a dinosaur. It's big. It attacks people. It seems to be both, aquatic and land.
That's pretty cool.
Cool. Great. I don't feel like there's anything grand or wonderful about this.
They're all just whatever to you.
I just don't think dinosaurs are that interesting. I never thought they were as kids. I'm not you over here who wanted to be a paleontologist when they were a kid.
I did. That's true. That was the first... I feel like people go through their life and they have 20 things they want to be when they grow up. That was the first thing I wanted to be.
Yeah, you were a disturbed child, so... I don't know about that. I, however, was a rational, normal, well-adjusted child.
Yeah.
Basically the same as I am now.
Yeah. Well.
Are you insinuating something over there?
I'm thinking a lot.
Maybe you should put your thinking energies into a new question or something good. You got anything to say about any of it? Either film.
Do you think you could fight any of these dinosaurs? Could you beat any of them?
With my immaculate kindness towards them? Yes. All of them.
Yeah, you think you could tame them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm a good guy.
I guess that would be winning.
They would be my servants. I would sick them after you.
Oh, well.
It'd be like a human hunting game. I would leave you alive, and then I would, make sure they knew they couldn't kill you, and then, they would run after you.
I see.
And see how far you could get away.
Yeah. Well, that's kind.
Wouldn't that be funny? That'd be great.
That's
what righteous people do.
On some planet, somewhere, maybe.
On my planet.
Yeah, your home planet.
I don't know, you got any dinosaurs you feel that you have the bravado to take out over here?
I feel like I could kill these damn compies.
There's a lot of them, though.
There's a lot of them. But look at these little guys. You just touch them and they die.
I mean, the deal is they're pretty small, and I feel like even if they kind of get you to fall on the ground and they knock you over, you roll.
Yeah, you swap them. You swat them.
Roll on top of them. Now, that might not work for me. Maybe I don't weigh enough for that game.
Yeah, you're 90 pounds, so.
Maybe soaking wet. But you over here at 4,000 pounds, you'll crush them.
I would destroy them.
Oh.
I just feel like these things are posing this big danger, and I'm like, come on, guys. You got a gun. Shoot the damn things. A bullet's definitely destroying that thing.
Again, the question you have to ask yourself, how good of a shot are you?
You just spray. You just keep shooting. You'll hit them eventually, and you'll scare them off. I feel like a gun's pretty loud. I I feel like those things wouldn't want to fight you.
I think the noise of it would be intelligent, yeah.
Like, I just feel like they shouldn't be as big a threat as they were. Like, to the little girl. Alright.
She was also just trying to be nice.
Yeah.
She fed them some food.
Yeah.
And then it didn't work quite as well as she thought it was. I respect that little girl.
She tried to make friends like you would.
But I would be more successful.
Yeah.
I'd have a whole lot of food. They would eat till they were full.
I wonder how much they can eat.
The compies, not a lot.
Yeah, but they gotta eat every day.
Yeah, they won't live to see the next day.
Yeah, not when I get to them.
That's mean. You would kill my friends.
Yes.
This is probably why I don't have very many friends, because of your violent tendencies.
I do tend to kill off all your friends.
We're so far off topic, by the way. I have nothing else to contribute to these two films.
Okay. Any predictions? Because, JP3 comes out 2001.
Mm-hmm.
Jurassic World 2015.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty large gap in time. What do you think you're going to see in Jurassic World? Any guesses? Outside of Chris Pratt.
Why you gotta do that to me? That was gonna be my answer.
Yeah, I knew that would be your answer.
I don't know. Like, it's Jurassic World. I assume that these dinosaurs find a way to escape into the world or on a boat or something, and they gotta try and stop that. But it's gotta get progressively worse or something. Maybe this is just the start, that someone else tried something new and ends up to stupid things again. I don't know. John Hammond is, his preserve island isn't going very well. Rinse and repeat, there'll be a child.
Well, you're not wrong about that one.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay.
Those are things I think could happen. I'm not really set on any of them.
Fair enough.
Would you like to make some predictions on what's going to happen in the next 3 films?
Yeah, I'd love to spoil it for you.
I appreciate that. Anyway, you got nothing else?
I think that's all I got. Lost World, great movie. Lives up to the hype of the first movie. Jurassic Park 3, not a great film. But, it's okay.
I mean, you're wrong.
It's got some cool moments.
The correction of that is that 1 and 3 are, they're movies. I guess. Wasn't really worth my time to watch them. But 2's a step up.
2 was worth your time to watch. Almost.
Because people like it so much,
Okay.
That's fine, I'll watch it. So I can be included in public conversation. I don't really know why I want that either.
Yeah, I mean...
But, I can tell them all how wrong they are. Spread the righteous gospel. And it's been a nice pleasure spreading the righteous gospel with you. Well, not really with you. To you, I guess. And to the populace. And that's who this is really about. The pleasure for the people listening. Enriching their lives. And we want to invite you to have at us. You like, you comment, you subscribe. All the good things, right? You leave suggestions. All our social media links are in the description. We want to hear from you. We want you to have at us.
And there's, of course, one more thing. I really need you to do this. This one's very important.
Because there's always one more thing.
There's always one more thing, but this one's very important.
Okay, what is it?
I need you guys to come together and create a dinosaur. But instead of a frog, frogs are stupid. So we will give you our DNA, and you can create a dinosaur, filling in that sequence gap using our DNA. Create a creature unbeknownst to man. I mean, I'm excited for that. That's going to be so cool.
Yeah, we need to see it. You gotta come up with a good name.
Yeah.
That combines our names.
Yeah, that would be very good.
And when you become famous for this,
we will take all the credit.
We just need to shout out. We need to just send some publicity our way. We'll let you have the credit, but we're gonna use this and abuse this as a publicity stunt, But you get to be a part of that. That's the pleasure. That's the joy of your contribution here.
This thing better be an omnivore, too. I don't need no freaking herbivore.
Giving the people bad ideas. You are restricting their freedom.
Yeah, I am.
Well, before you make more tyrannical statements, let's go ahead and go to scores. We'll do them separately. We'll start with 2. Let's hear it.
I'm going to give The Lost World Jurassic Park a 9 out of 10.
That is a 5.5 out of 10. 3. Let's hear it.
It's like a 5.
False. False. It's a 4. Definitely a 4 out of 10. Now, let's hear it as a trilogy.
It's tough because the first 2 films are so good, followed by a not great one. But, as a trilogy, it's like an 8.
I'm gonna come back to my 5.5 out of 10.
Have at us.